What do you think Jenny from 2016, if she walked in a music compound today, what would she say?
You did it.
Yeah?
Every single person doubted me. You're not gonna be able to do that. Stop talking about it, because I was obsessed with creating it. It kind of makes me like emotional talking about it, because there were only a few people that actually thought I could do it.
I believe. All right, Jenny, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna dive in with like really hard-hitting questions first, if that's acceptable to you.
All good.
Okay. If you could have a superpower, only one, and only for one day, what would that superpower be?
That's a really good question. Coming to mind means like reading people's minds would be great, or if they could read mine would be really great.
That would be cool.
But as far as superpower that I really wish I could do, I don't know, probably like teleport, like go anywhere with like.
Ooh, like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like mine, because I always think speed, like be fast or whatever, but it would serve the same purpose, I suppose, right?
Yes.
I'd be afraid to like be able to read people's minds. You know, there was a movie, I'm gonna show my age. There's a movie years ago, I think Mel Gibson, where he could read the minds of all women.
Oh, yes. What a Woman Wants, or something like that. With Helen Hunt, yes.
Yes, that's right, yeah. It was a good movie, but I'd be afraid, like people walking down the street and they'd be like, look at that bald guy or something, you know.
I think it's really just about like team members or family members, where it's like, should I just keep my mouth shut and keep walking, or should I say something?
Yeah, for sure. All right, number 2, is it acceptable to put pineapple on pizza?
So I've been totally against that. My brother growing up loved pineapple on pizza, and my husband likes it as well, and I've been totally against it. I tried it. I'm a fan now.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like the texture is what throws me off, but
I liked it, and I'm not even a big ham person, and usually they pair it with ham.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might have been drinking too much that day when I tried it.
Maybe.
I was a fan of it.
All right, so you've become a fan. Got
Yes.
you.
Never say never.
Got you. So Jenny, thanks for joining today. I appreciate you. Music Compound. What led you to start this business, and what led you to feel that this area specifically needed this?
Yes. So the idea came about when I was in my final semester of college. So I was selling real estate back in the 2000s, rocking, rolling. I was just living the great life, right? Bought my first house at 24, and everything was great. And then the market tanked, 2008. And my parents warned me that this would happen. I got my associate's degree, and my parents were like, oh, hey, we're going for the bachelor's. And I was like, I'm going to sell real estate. And they're like, you're going to need that bachelor's degree. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to need it. And they're like, we're going to pay for it now, but we're not going to pay for it later. And so my parents were right. I needed the bachelor's degree because I could not apply for most jobs after the market tanked. I only had an associate's degree, and you needed a 4-year degree to apply for most jobs. Even though I could outsell, outwork, and outdo most people on those teams, I couldn't apply. So I had to go back to college to get my bachelor's degree. And it was in that final semester where they tasked us with doing a business plan. Simultaneously, I was in the process of short selling that house. I was waiting tables, and I was surrounded by musicians that wanted a place to connect, to jam, to rehearse, and really just have a hangout. Yeah. So I was like, ooh, I'll create a place where musicians can jam. Quickly realized they had no money. They did not want to spend money on rehearsal space.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that idea isn't going to fly. So I went back and started reflecting on my childhood, and my parents gave us every opportunity. I went to a private school. I was in 4-H. I did sports. They invested a lot of time, energy, and money in us. And it was in my early 20s. I was working for my dad, who owned a window cleaning company. We used to service Publixes and Walgreens, and I had the opportunity to go clean a young lady's house. She was 27, drove a Mercedes, lived in a mansion, had a boat on the canal in the backyard. And I was like, what do you do? And she's like, I own a cheerleading school. And I was like, one day I'm going to have a child-based business. So like fast forward back to here I am in my final semester of college in the process of short selling my home, late 20s. I discovered what that child-based business was going to be. Yeah. So I flipped the switch and decided to make it a membership base that allowed students of all ages adults and students or children to connect, to socialize, to play music in an environment that would allow them to work on social skills, stage presence, confidence, and then they'd be part of a community, because I think that's the most important thing.
Really cool.
So graduated college, traveled the country for 6 years because I got a full-time job because I was able to apply with my degree.
That's right.
And that job allowed me to travel the country. And every city I was in, it was like music school, gear sales, whatever it is. And I took all the greatness that all those places had and I put in a blender, and out came Music Compound.
Music Compound.
So the whole idea basically started in 2009, but I didn't launch it until 2016.
16. So you're almost 10 years in.
I am. I'll be celebrating our 10th year in January of next year. We'll be having a large party. I've reserved Robarts Arena.
Oh, cool.
And as of right now, that's where we're going to host it. We did our 5-year there,
cool.
and it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. When you started it, did you believe or plan that it would be where it is today?
100%.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of years developing that plan.
Okay.
Obviously, I started with that business plan in 2009 as a class project. Every year I fine-tuned that plan. I changed that plan. I had a mentor. We really dove into it, made sure I thought about everything. And when I opened doors, I knew what I was going to do. And I had a 1, 3, 5, and then I had a 10-year plan where I was going to be. Now, did it work out the way I planned it? Not really.
No, yeah, obstacles, right?
There was lots of obstacles, lots of hiccups, lots of mistakes that I made along the way. But at the end of the day, I stayed true to the mission, stayed true to who I was and what I wanted the company to be. And there was times where I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Right.
But for the most part, it's really everything that I envisioned and some more as well. But I think having that business plan has been key to the success and staying true to who we are and our values. And we just turning dreams into reality, and we're having fun along the way.
I love it. What do you think Jenny from 2016, if she walked in a Music Compound today, what would she say?
You did it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, coming up with the idea in 2009 and talking about it for so long and not being a musician, not being an educator, and not being a mom, every single person doubted me. You're not going to be able to do that. Stop talking about it, because I was obsessed with creating it. Yeah. And I knew one day I was going to do it. I just didn't know when the time was going to be. And, I started it without a background, and people were like, what's the curriculum? And everyone just doubted it. And it kind of makes me like emotional talking about it, because there were only a few people that actually thought I could do it.
Believed. Wow. Wow. I mean, that is like, for most, it's like motivating.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't think I got this, but I got this.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's been really fulfilling. It's been a humbling experience. It's definitely came with a lot of challenges. Personally, it came with a lot of challenges. And you're working with people and you're working with artists, and it's really hard when you believe in something, you're so passionate about it, sometimes to get the buy-in. It takes some time to build that from team members. But once you find the right people and they align with the mission and they are just along for the ride, it can be really, really beautiful.
I wonder if, I'm not a musician either, right? Like, I wonder if musicians deal with that, like getting buy-in and people believing in this goal that they have, this dream that they have as well. Maybe there's a relatable factor there that they have with Music Compound with you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're getting to do what they love every single day, and it's a career, and it's acceptable.
Right.
And they're getting paid to do it. So they're definitely aligned in that. I think sometimes some of them wanted to be on stages and wanted to make it, and they didn't. So like, there's still that hope and dream that they will. Yeah. So like, this is just as good, I guess. Or it's like, the plan B.
But they're doing what they love.
Right. Like, I don't know how many times that's what they tell me. They're like, I'm so grateful that I get to do what I love and get paid. It's like the best job I've ever had. And when I hear that, I'm like, my cup is completely full. I'm like, job done. I can go home now.
It's fulfilling. Yeah, I could see that.
So fulfilling. And honestly, the first 3 years, I didn't pay myself. I was being paid in smiles, transformation, hugs, and just compliments from all of our parents saying, oh my God, I can't imagine not having this place in our lives. So And that was enough for me. Like, really, I was just like, this is the best job ever. But then I had bills to pay.
Yeah, bills. I was just thinking, don't pay the bills.
My husband's like, this needs to produce somebody. This just can't be a hobby. And I think for musicians, a lot of times it is a hobby. It's not a career. So we give them the opportunity to take their hobby and make it a career.
That's cool. That's really cool. Going from, how big is the team?
So I have a team of 32, which I just hired 2 people just this week. So we'll have 34 on the team. Okay. The goal is 40 by the end of the year.
That's fast.
We have just over 400 members that attend lessons weekly.
Love it.
And then we just moved in this past August into a 10,000 square feet facility.
I knew that you moved into a new facility. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
When you started, so 2016, was it just you or how many?
So, well, I definitely was not teaching music lessons. Music Compound would not be here if I was the teacher. So I started with 1 teacher, 4 studios, and 1,800 square feet. And so the teacher that I had, she could teach everything. She was phenomenal. She actually had a music school. And I met her mom, and her mom's like, you need to talk to my daughter. And I was like, okay, let me talk to your daughter. So I met her at the coffee shop downtown. And she asked me all these questions. And she was like, well, what is your background? And what is your curriculum? And like, put me through the ringer. Like at one point I said, I'm sorry, but who are you? And why are you asking me all these questions? And she goes, well, I just wanted to know. I'm in. I'm going to transfer my website, my phone number, and I'm going to come work for you. And I was like, let's go. So she worked with us for several years, and then some things happened, and she got sick, and some other stuff happened, so she is no longer with it. But yeah, she believed in the concept and basically helped me get it started, and we still have members with us that joined our first year, our first month actually. Wow. They're still with us. It's pretty cool.
So going from 2 people to now, by the end of the year, 40, you've had to go from, business owner, operator, to leader, right? Like, so talk to me about what was that transition like for you? Was it easy? Was it hard? Talk to me about that.
It's been all the things.
Yeah, it's all the things.
All the things. So at first it started because I was really passionate about it. I was having fun. I had this great vision. It was like, this is cool. I get to finally live out the dream. And then I started hiring people. And a lot of people believed in it, but they didn't believe in me that I was going to be able to do it. So they were the first couple hires were waiting for me to fall flat on my face so that they could take over and save the day. So my first year or 2, I had some people that were lifers, but then I had some challenges, and really strong women that were highly qualified, super talented, and very passionate about what they were doing. And so I had those challenges, and then we grew very fast. So I had to hire some new people, but at the same time, I wasn't paying myself. So I had this mentality, well, you better work really hard because I'm not paying myself. And if I'm going to be paying you and not me, you better deliver.
That's right, yeah.
I had this just really poor mindset, according to one of my teachers and one of my mentors. So one of those mentors had said, Jenny, you need to start paying yourself. Once you start paying yourself, you're going to have a different mindset, and you're going to treat people, talk to people, and lead people differently. Yeah. And so I said, okay. And I was walking on the beach with one of my teachers, and I said, but we just can't afford to pay me. And she goes, with that poor mindset, you're never going to be able to pay yourself.
Never be able to.
And she's like, you have to have an abundance mindset. So between those 2 conversations and then something else that happened, I put myself on payroll. And I think I paid myself like $250 every 2 weeks. Yeah. But it was something. And so anyway, so that really transformed me as a leader. And then in 2018, I had a personal situation that required me to step out of my business. And I had to trust my business with someone that I hired in October that was 18, and someone I had just hired earlier that month that basically I knew he was an A player. Tom, actually.
I know Tom, yeah.
So I hired him. I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to have you do, but we'll figure it out. And then February, I stepped out of my business. And the 2 of them took my business in 2018 from red to black, and from old school to new school, transformed. They hired, and I came back to an amazing team in 2019. And I came back very appreciative and just a different leader. And then 2020 happened, so I had to come and just be like the mother hen. How do I keep everyone, working and making money? And 2022, 2023, I became a different leader because I hired coaches And it was more like we needed the company to be financially stable.
Right.
At that point, I wanted to make money and I wanted to be able to pay our people more. So I transformed as a leader again. And then I wrote a book and started podcasting. And then I got coached by those people. So just last year, I came back. And before, I was very much like, we got this. You're good. It's okay that we're not doing very good with numbers. Like I just didn't hold people accountable. And like this past year, I came back in. And I came back in really, really strong. It was called a bulldog.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Nothing's ever good enough. But what I wanted to do was increase the business. We had an increase in space, increase in rent as well. And I really wanted to elevate our services, our quality, and our
Offer
people.
more. Yeah.
And it was a kill to some of their egos. And think about musicians and educators.
For sure.
And they thought they were doing such a great job. And they were doing a good job, but they became very comfortable because I wasn't there constantly encouraging or like, let's try
The
this,
structure
right?
too, yeah.
So it was a really hard year. I would say that the leader that I am right now, super focused, super committed. I'm definitely in growth mindset. Read the book Traction last year.
Good book.
Great book.
Yeah.
So just started implementing EOS.
Good.
So I would say after January, we cleaned house. And it was the best thing that we could have done in several years, rocking and rolling. So I would say that I'm a very clear leader that has a plan, that is sharing the vision that people want to buy into and be part of again.
You become that
100%.
through the journey.
Through the journey, through all the heartache, through all the pain, all the struggles, and all the highs too.
Oh yeah, it makes you who you are.
Yes.
You know, I started my business unconventionally. You know, I didn't finish school. I didn't, didn't go to B school. I didn't learn any of those things.
Yeah.
But I've talked in the past about, do I wish I had done it a different way? Would it have been easier, in some areas? Maybe,
Yeah.
here and there. But I don't think I would have learned those lessons any other way. Like I needed to learn those lessons. I needed to take that journey to get to where I'm at today and to get to where I'm going to be 10 years from now. It forms you.
100% too. And I think some people that you add to your team add value and support in different ways. Some of my team have been with me from the very beginning. So they've seen the transformation of the company, the transformation of the leadership, the transformation of a lot of different things. And then you have some people that just recently joined. So they just see the leader that I am today.
And that's all they know.
That's all they know.
Right.
They don't know about all the struggles and things like that. Like I just bought a new car. And they're all like, oh, you got a new car. I'm like, I was driving that old car for like 7 years. It was paid off. And 7 of our employees have all got new cars.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's okay in time for me to get a car, right?
It's okay, yeah.
And so it's just like one example of not knowing the history of the company or like, I'm taking a month off. And for years, I never took a vacation, right? So it's like, I'm starting to reap the benefits in our 10th year of all the hard work, dedication, and all the sacrifices. So, I think that can be kind of challenging for some team members to see. And
100%.
as a leader and as a boss too, like not feeling guilty about it.
That's the big thing. Like, because how can you enjoy the time away or the new car or whatever if you have this sense of guilt? I understand you're taking a trip here soon.
Yes.
Is that a sabbatical? Is that the purpose? And have you done that in the past, or is this new?
Yeah. So the first sabbatical was in December of 2017.
Okay.
So I met with a mentor in November. He met me and he goes, you're crashing and burning. You're going to lose your marriage and your business by the end of the year if you don't walk out tomorrow. And I was like, you want me to walk out of my business?
Just take care of my baby.
What? Like I just hired a girl in October, 18, and I had a 16-year-old. And I was like, who am I going to have run it? And he goes, they'll figure it out. And he said, you're going to walk out of your business December 1st. December is a 2-week month. Pretty much no one does business between Christmas and New Year's. No. And a lot of people are forgiving and they expect hiccups during this month. So if anything's going to go bad, this is the best time for it to happen. So I walked out of my business December 1st. I said, see you later. Because I was a mediator. I was like a counselor. I was a therapist.
Everything.
I was not the CEO. And so I came back in January. And the 18-year-old that I hired that was working part-time created a full-time job for herself. This is what's working, this isn't what's working, and this is what we need to fix. And someone that I had hired that thought they wanted to be in a position came to me and said, that about killed me. I don't want to work here, but thank you.
Right.
And I was like, all right. And I came back and the teachers had a new level of respect for me. They understood. They were grateful to work there. They were grateful to have me back. So that was the first time. And then in 2018, when I had to step out of my business, I took some time. And that was really great because I had to trust the team that they would figure it out and they would do a great job. And it basically, they picked up all the pieces. They automated the business to where I didn't really even have to really work after that point. I did because I wanted to. So that was another time that I was able to leave. And then last year, my husband and I took 2 weeks away, or 2 years ago, to celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, awesome.
Did 2 weeks in Italy, and I was like, I'm going to come over here for a month. I said that 2 years ago, I said, I'm taking a month off and I'm going to do it. And so that's been on the vision board and everything I've been working towards, especially with the EOS, like making sure everything is good to go.
Yeah.
So I can take a month off. And then in September, I'll probably take off another 3 weeks. So my goal is 8 weeks of time, not considering the time that we're actually closed this week.
Right.
So I'll probably get 10 to 12 weeks of vacation this year.
Beautiful.
So
we usually close here those last 2 weeks of the year. So we close the agency down because our clients don't want to, they don't care about talking to us.
Right,
They're doing
yeah.
family stuff too.
To your point, like taking the time off, it allows you to kind of decompress, to dream again, to get excited about the work that you're doing. The people in place can automate, they can elevate, they can take ownership. Their confidence is boosted as well. So
They're getting fulfilled in their job.
And they figure out what they don't know and what they want to know as well. So I feel like it's crucial for all leaders to take time away and trust the team that they hired, because so much greatness comes out of that. And then you get to reconnect with family.
Right.
And celebrate the hard work. I mean, a lot of people don't understand entrepreneurship and owning a business, like the sacrifices. Like, you are on 24/7.
24/7. It's your baby.
24/7.
Even when you're somewhere else, it's still in your brain.
Yes.
And I was just telling one of y'all, like, it's lonely, right? Because like it's on your shoulders. It's your baby. And even if you're at a football game, and here your wheels are still turning.
And every action that we do represents our team.
That's right.
And like, there's times I want to speak my mind about what's going on with the economy or what's going on in politics or what's going on. I have to completely stay silent and neutral because I represent them. And if I do something that jeopardizes our company and their career, how are they going to pay their bills?
Right.
I'm going to have to pay their bills for them without having a company. And so we're constantly putting on a face. We're constantly putting on an act. We're constantly, there's a lot, I'm very authentic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But at the end of the day, I've got to represent the brand. And
that's right.
I am not the brand.
And those souls are on board.
Yeah,
those are team members and their family.
100%. I will say that I have passed on payroll. I've passed on, like, somebody else has access to our alarm now. So it's like they needed to go off. The alarm company can call them. Right. So, and right now my husband and I are working on our wills and our trust and everything. It's
it's a fun time. Yeah, I've done that.
But we don't have children. So we're like, oh my God, who is going to make decisions for us? And my bench of family members, a little loopy.
It'll be an AI robot, don't worry.
So anyways, but it's really cool to like think about who we're gifting things to, and it includes a lot of past team members and family and stuff. But it's a great example of why a leader needs to have everything outsourced and have everything taken care of by their team and not doing it all. Because if one of us were to go down,
then what? Right.
Will the company survive? Will people get paid? What's our legacy?
Right.
We've been working so hard. How does that legacy continue? And so I think it's really, really important that leaders get out of the hot seat, go enjoy life, and allow the people that you've hired to do their job and trust them, because they'll just surprise you.
You've inspired me. I think I'm gonna take the rest of the year off. You heard it here first, y'all. See you next year.
Don't do it until you have the systems in place.
That's right. Yeah.
So I would say anyone that's listening, if they're an entrepreneur, read the book Traction and start getting those key players.
Yeah.
Are key. And for us, I was dealing with musicians. So I was dealing with musicians and educators that work 20, 25 hours a week. And I was like, don't you want to work full time? Like, how can we engage you? How can we get you into these larger roles and take your hours up to 40? And so I was giving them things to do, but it wasn't the right jobs for them.
Not for them particularly.
Right. So now we went back to our structure of like front of house and back of the house. Back of the house is teaching, front of the house is all the other things. Right. And we're hiring people to fill those roles that can do those jobs really great.
Love it.
Where I'm getting my money's worth and they're fulfilled and they're doing it to where the teachers can go back to doing what they're most passionate about, which is teaching.
Love it.
So,
You know, as a CEO, as a business owner, you wear a lot of hats, right?
I keep joking I'm going to do a TikTok with all the different hats
all the
that I
hats.
wear.
You wear a lot of them. And I mean, I don't think that ever like stops, right? Like the hats may change,
Yeah.
but you're always going to wear lots of hats. But I am curious, is there a hat that you have worn in the business that surprised you?
I don't know if it surprised me. I don't know. My parents were entrepreneurs. My parents had us do everything. So I never felt like I was too good to do any job.
Sure.
And I was always up for a challenge and always willing and able to do anything. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it right now, but maybe through our conversation, I'll circle back with it. I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, no.
I feel like I'm always up for anything.
Mine was like the accounting side of it. Like, because I didn't go to B school. I didn't learn, I had to figure out what a profit and loss was. I didn't know, It was just, when I started my business, the kids today would call it a side hustle. Right? Like I was just, I can make some extra coin, whatever. Or some coin to begin with, whatever. But like, learning the accounting side of it was, I did not realize how intricate. This is probably 2 years into business. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this mean? And knowing your numbers and stuff like that.
Knowing what to put on the P&L.
Oh my goodness.
For the tax purposes.
It was so confusing, and I had like this new appreciation for people in that world. So I hired an accountant.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That was surprising. Okay, well, how about of all the hats, if you had to choose one that is your favorite?
My favorite. My favorite is probably the connection with the teachers and like spending time with them and like helping them understand that their career is the tool to build the life that they want. So they can do whatever they want. I love doing that. Now, there's times where they don't want me to do that, and they don't want me to, they're like, the more you push me, the less I want to do it.
Really?
And I'm like, oh, but I want you to grow your income, and I want you to be able to go and travel. And it's like, I want them to be able to have a similar lifestyle.
Right.
And which my husband and I are dinks, double income, no kids. So that's kind of challenging for them to have the same lifestyle when they're not even married.
Right.
But I want them to. So some of the things that I love doing with them is developing our why for the year. So like, why are you coming to work?
Right.
What are you going to do with the funds that you earn from work? How is that going to impact your life? I have them pick a word for the year as well for them personally, like how that's going to guide you. And so I love doing that aspect of it. And I just love seeing them shine, because sometimes they come in underestimating themselves or not thinking they're capable. And
they prove it to themselves.
Oh my God, like that's the best.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I love seeing the kids transform and like the parents crying and all that, but like my favorite is the team.
I love that.
I'm just like, I'm a team person. I grew up doing team sports, so I just love the team and us working together. And sometimes there's, we don't agree on certain things. And, I can't understand a lot of the language that they speak when they start talking about musicians. So I was like, but I can understand it from a client perspective. And so, anyway, so it can be fun and challenging.
Mine, when I started Agento, I worked full-time at the Goodwill.
Oh,
and the Goodwill was all about, what do you want to do when you leave the Goodwill? Like, hey, I'm trying to start a business. And they're like, all right, we'll bring your laptop to work, and on your downtime, run your business. They were perfectly fine with that. And I thought, well, that's so weird. You're going to pay me to do my own stuff? I thought, that's so weird. But it was so, I realized looking back, when the bell went off and somebody was going to drop something off at the Goodwill, I ran.
Right.
Like, they got the best out of me.
Right.
And so today, that's my philosophy here, is everybody kind of wants something beyond Agento, as great as it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But how do I help them to get there?
Right.
And that for me is like my most fulfilling thing, because I'll see their progress.
Right. I loved that. I watched you or heard you speak about that as well. And I was like, how cool that he's like wanting to set them up and he knows they're going to leave or wants them to go. Yeah. And I think that's really unique and cool. And I think, a lot of leaders aren't like that. Yeah. They want to keep you in this pigeonhole, and they want you, like I had a boss, he was like, don't you want to buy a new car? I was like, no, I don't need a new car. Why do I want to buy a new car? He goes, I think you need a high car payment. And I was like, why? And he goes, so they show up to work. And I was like,
You got something to work for.
I was like, I'm going to come to work no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is a balance too. I mean, obviously you want your good people to stay, but if you treat them well and you give them tools and you show them that they can still have everything and still work here, they're going to want to stay there and they're going to be super, super loyal.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
great job with leading your people.
Appreciate
That's
it.
awesome.
Likewise. As we look forward, I know you said you had a 1, 2, 5, 10-year plan. You got it all planned out, and I love it. So what's the future hold?
So the future is, by the end of the year, my company will be fully operational. I'm doing EOS, and my coaches are helping me build my company to sell it, but not to sell it, so that I can have key people in there and I can go and do something else. I'm looking forward to having a role as far as partnerships, doing a lot of education for parents, getting sponsorships to pay that. I really want to create an educational hub for parenting that kind of goes into line with what our mission is.
Wow.
And I would love to I have my own personal podcast, but I'd love Music Compound to have a podcast next year. So launching that, getting sponsorships, getting whether it's musical instruments to sponsor it and all that. So figuring out other ways to build value for the company. So I'd like that role to be maybe part-time.
Yeah.
And then I really would like to just maybe write another book or continue with my podcast guesting. So if I could do Music Compound 1/3, my own brand 1/3, and then travel the other third,
Yeah. Then you're
that would be great. Yeah. This is the longest job I've ever had. I've never worked anywhere as long as I have at Music Compound.
Really?
So
Well,
I'm getting the itch.
just the same for me. For me as well. Tell me about the book, Stroke It.
So it's called Stroke It, yes. And a lot of people were like, what? What are we stroking? And I was like, ourselves, other people, not literally. So anyway, it was inspired in 2018. I've referenced, I had to pop out of the business a couple times. I discovered that my husband was being stroked by a coworker, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Oh.
Mic drop, right? Plot twist, let me tell you. My 135 went totally down the toilet in February of 2018.
Okay.
So anyway, so the book talks about that discovery and the recovery process for it. So how did I respond? What did I learn from it? And basically, how did we rebuild our marriage to where it is today? So what I learned in that process was we were in counseling, and I was like, I just don't understand why. And she listened to me, she validated to me, she was present, and she wanted to spend quality time with me. Those are not any of the qualities that I had at that point. I was in the middle of building a business. I cared more about that business. Oh, you cared more about that business than our marriage. Oh, crap.
Right.
Yes, I did. Okay. So in that moment, instead of pointing fingers, I decided to take a lot of ownership. How did I show up as a wife? Was I spending quality time? Did I forget about that I was married? And I basically said I had an affair with my company. He had an affair with another person, which having an affair with another person, completely different story.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of emotions, it's physical, it's a lot of feelings are involved in that as well. But because I started to take ownership, then he started to take ownership, and we were able to start talking about maybe rebuilding the marriage.
Yeah.
In that process, we split our assets, sold our house, and we're on the verge of divorce. And then we said, are we ready? And I said, maybe we'll give a shot at a second marriage together. And so we got a place downtown, and we were able to rebuild our marriage and all that. And like I said, the business, I got pulled off the hamster wheel in one day. And looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I was able to find work-life balance. I was able to figure out, who was I?
Yeah.
I was so defined by Music Compound, and that was how people knew me.
Right.
I had no hobbies. I had no self-care left. I mean, my parents were entrepreneurs. Like, if you weren't working, you were lazy, and you were like a sorry SOB.
Right.
So I was like, oh, wait, I can relax on the couch and not work. I can watch Netflix.
And enjoy it?
And be cool. And so there was just a long journey of just self-discovery and growth for myself. So I share that. And then I talk about stroking the people in your lives. So your spouse, like being appreciative, being present, getting off your phone, employer-employee. So that's a really great business section for retaining your employees, making sure they're happy, making sure you're showing appreciation to build that loyalty and that retention. Stroking your employer. Right. Showing up on time.
Showing up on time, yeah.
Show up looking the part, right? Yeah. Leaning into the vision, following the mission, things like that. And then it talks about friends, family. And because most people think it's something else, there is a chapter for your pleasure. There's some downloads. I couldn't put everything in the book. My book coach was like, your mentors and your family are going to read this. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I'm so great. I listened to my coach. I pulled a lot of it out. So it actually started as a journal because I was so emotional when everything was happening. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody I worked with. No one knew what was happening. I literally bottled it all inside, and I got really sick, and I had shingles, and I couldn't move my arm. And one of my doctors was like, you need to start journaling. You have to release it all. And so I still have the same journal that I started writing in. And when I started to understand the benefits of this concept of stroking people or, validating people and all that stuff and making it known and speaking it, I was like, other people need to know this.
Need to know.
And why didn't they write this on the popsicle stick at the shower? Right?
No, and not in school either.
So anyways, so it's been a beautiful journey, and it was really hard for my husband, me coming out and sharing that story, because a lot of our family didn't even know that we went through that. I was not one to go public with it until I was like, let me write a book and just put it on Amazon. Let's just go public, right? So it's been a quite fun journey. It was an Amazon bestseller, and like I said, I've got a podcast that goes along with it. So it has been very therapeutic. It's a passion project. It's a hobby for me, and I'm really proud of it.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really cool. Jenny, anything else that you'd like the audience to learn about Music Compound?
I would just say come take a tour, come to a concert.
Can I come to a concert?
Please, yes. And we have a lot of adults. A lot of people think, oh, it's just kids. But actually 30% of our business are adult students over the age of 18. We have an adult jazz band. We have an adult jam session. And literally, it's individuals that are like, I always wanted to be in a band. And I was like, well, you can be. And they're like, wait, no, I'm not good enough. And within months, they're ready to rock and roll, and they're performing out in the community on our behalf. And
it's really
so
cool.
I always just say we're more than children. At the end of the day, we're all children at heart. And it's never too late to learn an instrument, find a hobby, and do something that you love. Life is too short.
Have some fun. Have some fun. All right, last question is, I would hope that you would ask a question for us to ask our next guest. So I can't tell you who our next guest is. It's a business owner. But can you suggest a question that I should ask them?
If you could go back and do something that you always wanted to do, what would it be? And the reason I like that question is because I find that there are so many people living out somebody else's dream and not their own.
Oh, wow.
And if I work with a lot of kids and their parents already have their futures outlined, they haven't asked their kids if they want to do it.
No.
And so I would
This is what
say,
little Timmy's gonna
if you could go back and do anything, what would it be?
Interesting. Okay. I'm going to ask you. You have to look for that in the next episode.
I will.
Jenny, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you
Appreciate
for having me. This has been fun.